What's going on? Welcome to another Sales Hacker webinar. As most of you know, my name is Scott Barker, Head of Sales and Partnerships at Sales Hacker. We've got a juicy topic today with some fantastic guests. So today we're diving into how to hit our marketing and sales numbers every month this summer. So this is on a lot of people's minds, whether your organization talks about it or not. It's a reality. And I think it's super fitting, right? As we're getting into the 4th of July coming up tomorrow. So happy early 4th of July, everyone. For my fellow Canadians out there, we just had our Canada Day long weekend. So happy belated Canada Day. The sun is out, the beach is calling, but quotas are still looming and we got numbers to hit. So I've got David Gerhardt and Armin Zildjian joining me. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Scott, it's good to see you again. Last time we did this, it was still cold. You and Armin didn't have your summer shirts on. I have a golf shirt on, so much nicer to be here this time around. So thanks for having us back.
Absolutely. We always love having the Drift guys on. So this is the go-to-market team at Drift, and you guys are a hyper-growth company. So every month counts, especially in SaaS. So we wanted to just talk about how you stay the course and you stay on track. And I don't want to go too deep into either your backgrounds. Connect with them on LinkedIn. They seem to be everywhere all at once. But let's kind of quickly dive in. And before we do, a few housekeeping items. This will be recorded, so we'll be shooting this out to you guys as soon as this wraps up. Drift does an amazing job at leading the conversation in conversational selling and marketing. So we want this to be conversational. That's kind of the whole point, is to answer the questions that community has. So we're going to have a convo. It's going to be roughly about half an hour. And then we somehow convinced Armin and DG to stick around for another half an hour and do a full Q&A with the community. So make sure you stick around for that. But let's get this going. So let's get this rolling right away. Armin, I'm going to shoot to you real quick. What is the first thing a sales leader or an individual contributor should be thinking about when it comes to selling in these summer months?
Yeah, I think and thanks for having us. It's a great topic. It's one that we think about that stuff a lot here at Drift. And in fact, about a month ago, I got together in Boston, a bunch of my peers, VPs of sales in Boston from Car Gurus, HubSpot, ServiceNow, and Salsify and Allego, all sitting around with about 300 people in our office to talk about this subject. And one of the things that came out was really about, the thing that bubbled up the most was about planning, number one. 2, knowing your business. And then 3rd is really careful to not make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. And there's a lot of habits as salespeople and sales leaders that we sort of believe that can potentially drive you down that road. And so we could jump into any of those, but those are like the headlines. I
love that. Well, this is not prep, but I love what Armin just said, which is like the self-fulfilling prophecy is so true. And I didn't know this before Drift, but and I think Armin and I talk about this a lot, but we get this from our founders, David and Elias, which is you just have these kind of best practices that just turn into limiting beliefs, right? And so if you say that traffic and leads and sales are supposed to slow down during the summer, then guess what's going to happen? It's going to slow down. But if you have the mentality that that's not going to happen and we're going to set the same goals or bigger goals, then goals are going to pull you towards that. I think the lesson we've learned is we set big goals because goals end up just being like a magnet. The point of setting goals is not to show you how to do something, but it's to pull you in the right direction, right? If I'm a golfer and I've never broken,
you are a golfer.
I'm a golfer. If I've never broken 80 in my life or something, right? If you set the goal of 80, even if you miss, you're going to come in the right direction. And so I think that's what we've learned a lot about goal setting. So I love that Armin started that with
we've even turned it into almost beyond self-fulfilling prophecy. We flipped it actually in the complete other direction and said we're going to have summer be our secret weapon, right? And so while the rest of the world says we're going to grow slower in the summertime, or we're even going to plan to be off the mark from a growth perspective, and then we'll catch up in September, which is a lot of what organizations say to themselves. We say, no, we're going to continue to grow straight through the summer. And if we do that, it sets us up for a really strong finish to the year rather than kind of punting on 2 months in the middle of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, because it's a compounding effect too, right? Like just because 2 months in summer maybe slow down and you're not closing deals, there's still the compounding effects of like pipeline generation, and that's gonna hurt you well into Q4 even. So
and especially most of the people in this audience are at SaaS companies, I would assume, and so. Right. It's just math, right? Like it's all every month is 1/12 of the plan. And usually the way people create a plan is it scales like this, right? And so you can't afford to miss in July and June and July and August.
Right. And I think one of the things, back to the self-fulfilling prophecy, I want to stay on that a little bit, and it impacts you in a couple of different ways. First, on a leadership perspective, you might say, oh yeah, we're slower, I'll let more reps take time off, for example, and then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. From a marketing perspective, oh yeah, the traffic isn't as good in the summer months as it is in the other higher trafficked months. Or for the sales rep, which is like, hey, listen, people are taking the foot off the gas. I know I got my deals for September. I'm just going to kind of bag it a little bit in the summertime. I'll leave early on the week, on Fridays and stuff like that. And I think the way to flip it is, like, from a marketing perspective, imagine if you thought, and imagine if it were true that actually the higher quality was on your site in the summertime. And you could think about it this way and say, listen, if anybody's actually on your site in the summertime, they're probably shopping.
Yeah, I love that.
Imagine if you went after them in that way and had that mindset. What could be possible in terms of what you could sell if you had that mindset and you went after it that way?
Like, we say that all the time. We say, like, people, the change is like, if you have a B2B company, nobody's just casually browsing your B2B company's website, right? And we believe that is true always. But I think I love that point from Armin, which is like, especially in July, like, I'm someone, and to think that you have to be at the computer today in order to do that, like, just go stand in line at Starbucks or at lunch or whatever, and everyone's buried on their phones. And so to think that just because your potential customers are out of the office, right? Like, I think that's a crazy mindset. It's like, it's not 10, 20 years ago where out of the office meant no access to the internet, right? Like, if I'm out of the office today, I can see something on Twitter, I'm on the internet, and just look at your family, look at how everybody behaves in your life. Everybody's literally glued to their phones. And so to say that your buyers are not online in the summer is just crazy, because it's not.
Yeah, totally. And like, as sales folks, we're fighting for attention, essentially, right? So if you flip kind of what we said, and let's say everyone else adopts the mentality of, oh, not that many people in the office. Well, if you get a prospect on the phone, like you said, they're probably going to have more time, and they're going to be able to give you more of their attention than when it's, Q1 and they're doing all their planning, right? So you might actually can flip it and build more rapport, have more of their time, get your value prop across more effectively.
Right. And if you're a sales leader, you got to set that tone. If you're a rep, you got to kind of probably set the tone yourself, because it might not come from the top. And that's about like, hey, listen, I'm going to plan for this. So like, the three things that bubbled up in the conference that we had the other day was, the first thing is like, there's micro ways to sort of combat it, even if it is true that it slows down a little bit in your particular industry, right? And that's like international, right? Australia is not in the middle of summer when we're in the middle of summer. So that's one way to think about it if you can sell into that market. The other is pay more in your comp plan for July and August. Dollars acquired both in July and August are probably a little bit more valuable than dollars acquired at other times of the year. So that's another strategy that people have used. And then the third is like really digging deep in the pipeline with the reps to be able to get good pipeline hygiene, so that the reps are really understanding who are the influencers, decision makers, and signers on your deals, so that you know exactly when they're going to be out of the office, so that you can mitigate the impact of a deal slipping if, in fact, the person that's going to ultimately say yay or nay is not there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a good segue. We were all talking before this, and we're talking a lot about preparation. And how did DC over on your side? DC is David Cancel, the CEO over at Drift. How did he You had a funny story about him kind of prepping the exec team over there.
Go ahead. You go. I've been talking a lot. It's your turn.
Armin and I always like, anytime somebody says July 4th, we look at each other across the room and just go, oh boy. So like last summer we were dealing with this, which is like we went up and we presented the numbers from July and we said, hey, look, we expected, I got up in front of the company and said, hey, website traffic was a little slow. Leads were a little bit down because of the July 4th holiday. And then like Armin kind of echoed the same thing in what he said about sales. And then like, we just got it. We just got the heat. Like, he laid into us, right? Like, and he doesn't freak out. So I don't want people to think he's like, but he made a good point. He's like, look, let me ask you guys a question. Was July 4th a surprise? Like, was it just a last minute holiday that the government or whoever was like, hey, we're having a holiday on the 4th this year? It's like, no. We've known about this. And so I think ever since then, we've just learned that lesson, which is like everything is an input and everything can be planned. And so whether it's July 4th or Labor Day or Thanksgiving or Christmas and New Year's, like all that stuff we know, and that stuff is happening every year. And so for us, so that just meant for this year, hey, we loaded up on June and we made sure that we beat our lead gen number in June to feed the sales team for July and August. So we wouldn't have to have that conversation in July. And so, I'm proud of, we took that lesson and put it into play, but that we learned the hard way, which is why we want to do this webinar about the real lesson, which like, this is coming, it's in your control. You can plan for it. And to the point where I don't know where my calendar is right now, but he got us all.
You don't have your calendar on your desk?
No, actually I hid it. It's behind there because I just didn't want to know I have a freaking calendar. So he got us all like literally the desk planners, like the calendar on the desk.
Yeah.
And he circled all of the holidays on it, so we knew to plan.
That's awesome. And the 4th of July is the only holiday that actually has the date right in there. It's called that.
Right. That is a great point. That's a great point. Maybe we should make a petition to name every holiday. Like the 23rd of Thanksgiving. Like
I love it. Okay. Let's talk quickly about mindset, because we discussed a little bit. Like it's the old adage that if you're prospecting and you're thinking no one's going to pick up the phone, well, suddenly no one picks up the phone. But if you are thinking, this is going to be great, I'm going to get a million opportunities, let's make it happen, it typically happens. So what steps have you guys taken to protect the mindset of both sales and marketing at Drift?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what DG said, which is first you have to hold them to the high standards. We're not going to allow people to believe that like, hey, it's going to slow down, because as soon as you think that, it is, right? And so it goes back to the metrics, though, knowing your numbers. So, hey, listen, July 4th happens. There's a little bit of a slowdown potentially. How much? And if you as a rep or you as an organization know what those downstream metrics are, from captured lead to marketing qualified lead down to sales qualified lead, and then how many touches a rep needs, you probably need to increment those goals up, by say, call it 15% or 20% or whatever it is, to make sure that you can do enough volume. Like the rep still shows up every day and is at his desk or her desk. So they might have to plan for, hey, I probably need to do a little bit more than I've done in the past, because I need to account for maybe some of that softness, right? And that's what we mean by that belief system. If that belief system is in your head like, oh, well, we can't do anything about it because it's a holiday and nobody's going to buy, you're not going to hold yourself accountable to the higher level standard to be able to mitigate some of that downturn that potentially is really happening, right? Like we're not here saying holidays don't happen and people are still working. We're saying we know it happens, and therefore you probably have to account for it. And that accounting for it means the belief system that I could do something about it, and I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard and do more work to neutralize that slowdown.
Yeah, and I saw this. I saw this firsthand. The other thing, Scott, and to everybody else, like I saw the big thing that our sales team, Armin and the team were pushing for is, hey, let's make up for that July by getting the deals that slid from the end of June, right? Because at most companies, whether you work at Sales Hacker or Drift or whatever other company else on this webinar, like my guess is you didn't close 100% of the opportunities that you created in June, right? And so, 100%. So how can you focus on, okay, look, if you know that the 4th through the 7th is going to be slower, can you just focus entirely on closing the business that has slipped from June. And I think that's what we're focused on right now. And I think that might be another good strategy to head into this first week, right?
Yeah. We have a goal internally for us that's higher than our normal average first week goal of closing business. And it's predicated on, hey, you've got this pipeline that was on the 1 yard line. It's time to get it across the finish line. Well, if there was some kind of deal done, we'll honor the deal if they do it this week and keep that momentum so that we can have some of that stuff in our back pocket, again, to account for the fact that we have one less selling day this week.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an awesome point of using this time to tighten up, because no salesperson is perfect. No one on the planet. And I think in your psyche somewhere as salespeople, you know that throughout the course of the year, there was probably, 2 or 3 deals. If you had been more on the ball, you could probably close. So it is a great time to go back and, rework some of the things that may have slipped and tighten everything up so that, for your mindset that moving forward, you've got everything and you're not leaving anything on the table. I think that's awesome. So how can we turn these then? And that was a good example of one. How do we turn these summer months into something positive? Is there an upside hidden in there?
I think that the upside is like free money, right? Think of it as like it's house money, right? If everybody else is, I'm just looking at, I have notes from this event that Armin hosted where Kevin Haverty, who's on our board at Drift, and he's the EVP of sales at ServiceNow. He said, like, go out and find, like, just work extra hard on those opportunities that you have in the summer and drive urgency and find ways to close them, right? And maybe, or maybe this is your time to get better, right? Maybe there's a lot of people, like, we sell to marketers and salespeople. Maybe the summertime is slower on their end too, and this is the opportunity that they're researching new technology and thinking about. I know for me, it's July right now. I'm actually using this week to think a lot about our team and our plan for 2018 and 2019. Outside of the day-to-day, I'm looking at right now, what does our team need to look like? What does our budget need to look like? What things are we going to go after? And that's what I'm thinking about right now. So it actually would be a really good time to get me to think about something, because it's a time where for a stretch of a week, I'm not really in the weeds. I can think about things at a little higher level. So I think it's just, if you're selling something, how can you use that to your advantage? This is your time to really be helpful and come in and understand that.
And the other secret weapon is like, hey, listen, there's going to be sales reps that are taking time off this month, right? A week here, a week there. If you take your time off at a different period of time, you'll probably get, it's all different for different companies, but you hopefully will get rotated more leads in your name if you work through the summer months, get more pipeline built than some of the other people who are taking the time off. If you're really committed to growing your pipeline and getting to the number that you said you wanted to get to and earning the amount that you wanted to earn this year, you're going to put in the time at the times when you can make the most. And so, yeah, everybody's back in September crushing it, going after it. Maybe a good time to get it is get a couple more leads in your name during those summer months when a lot of other sales reps are taking off.
Totally. Love it.
Hey, Armin, what did you think about, I'm just reading this now. I wasn't at the event that night, but what did you think about, have you seen this before where I saw like George Donovan said they adjusted their plan and to ramp Q2 and Q4. We didn't do that, but like, have you seen that work at other places?
I've actually seen it happen where that can contribute to a self-fulfilling prophecy. What George said, though, was that they kept planning that Q3 was going to be just as strong as Q2 or Q4, and they kept missing it. And so what they did was they increased the goals both in Q2 and Q4 higher than they would have normally, and accounted for that. And that seemed to adjust in their organization because they kept running up against the wall where they couldn't make a dent in it. So I think that's another lesson to learn, which is where I don't think we're preaching, hey, everybody out there that thinks summer is a slowdown, you don't have it right, you screwed it up, or you're not thinking about it the right way. Listen, Josh Allen also said he's the VP of sales at Car Gurus. He's like, Armin, legitimately, there's seasonality. Nobody buys cars. Less people buy cars in the summertime, and our business is legitimate, so we account for that. That's another way of accounting for it. So they've accounted for it in a different way, which is like, hey, we know that there's softness in the market. We're going to do our best to obviously still maintain a standard for Q3, but we're going to account for it in other parts of the year to make up for that.
And I think that's important. Like, I think, we probably don't have enough historical data yet to know when our soft spots are. I think what we know now is like some of them might have just been flukes, but I do know, like, even in B2B sales, I know people from other companies, CMOs and VPs of sales and whoever, they said, hey, we know that historically this month is brutal for us, and so the rest of the plan is adjusted accordingly.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be my new summer motto: is the free money.
Free money.
Free money.
I want a shirt. I want a poster.
Yes.
I think that's the mentality you have to have.
Housework.
This is free money. No one else is getting after it. Let's go. I love it. Okay, so how then do salespeople have to adjust? Right, we talked. This is obviously a big issue. How do you adjust? Like, maybe you're structuring your days differently. How do you adjust for this?
Yeah, as an individual, I think you've got to, most reps should know to some degree, either the company gives them to you or you're a metrics-driven sales rep, and you're looking at both your activity metrics and then your output metrics, and you know what that equation looks like to some degree. And you've got to probably do more on the front end of that equation to be able to bolster up your productivity over that period of time, right? And you've got to get creative. And then when you do have a deal in play, I think you've got, salespeople, we call it happy years in the sales industry, where you get a positive buying sign and maybe even somebody gives you a verbal yes. And then we make the assumption, great, the deal's done, I got the yes. But then there's some other buying step, and it's reliant on someone who might not be in the office when that happens. And so I think it's a couple of things. I think it's first understanding your metrics baseline. If you don't understand your metrics, you can't get better and or mitigate some of potential slowdown that might be happening. Then it's when you're getting a deal in play, I think you need to be more judicious in making sure that you're really understand the buying process on their end, to make sure that you don't have any gotchas in your deal when you're relying on something coming through. So I think those are the two really keys. And then the third, I think, is if you can do it, and if you're committed enough to be able to take maybe some less time during those summer months and try to capture more of those leads and get your pipeline more full, to make up potentially for the reps being out of the office.
Makes total sense. And DG, anything to add there on structuring anything more effectively, you think?
Not structuring, but like, I actually think of it from I'm thinking about this from a marketing perspective, but I think it's actually, to me, it's like an exercise in creativity, right? Because if you can't predict that traffic's going to come, and I know that traffic is going to be down or flat this month, like, we have to go out and manufacture demand, right? People aren't going away. So what can we do to go get them? And so I'll just give you one example. Like, we wrote a book. This is a book that we're writing. It's about 40 things that we've done on the marketing team at Drift to help grow our business. And we're giving this book away for free. But that was something that we launched last month to give us a big bump, because we knew that would propel us into July. That's something where, like, this isn't going to be bigger or smaller because of when we launch it. We just have to make it, and people are going to come to it. And so we could launch this. And this, to me, this is just a guess, but this would be just as big if we launch it in September as we do in July, because people have the internet, right? And so I think, to me, it's just like relying on others, like finding other sources of traffic other than the organic stuff that's going to come. So we did this book. We're actually hosting a VIP event in July called like the B2B Block Party, where we're inviting all B2B marketing and salespeople in Boston. And people are going to come to that because it's a unique thing. And so I think, as a marketer, this is your opportunity to like exercise your creative muscles and like manufacture your own demand. And then you can shift back to like, when I know I'm going to get a bump back in August and September, like we'll be in good shape.
It's interesting the way you say that, though, is because it's like, oh, well, in most organizations, they would say, no, we can't launch that. Now we got to launch it in September when everybody's back from vacation.
100%.
Right?
I actually we had a conversation. I don't know if we're right or wrong yet, but that was the advice that I gave to our marketing team this week. Is I was like, you know what? Let's send more emails this week, because nobody's going to do it. And I had this conversation with our PR team last week, and they were like, hey, I recommend that you launch this the following week because most people are going to be out for 4th of July. And I said, No, I want to launch it when nobody else is going to be there. Right.
That's
And so like maybe the overall audience is smaller, but I bet you that I'm going to hit more of the audience if we go now. And so I think that all goes back to that limiting belief where like, wait a second, because guess what? It's funny. We are all now talking about the slowdown the week of 4th of July. Well, guess what's going to happen on Monday, July 9th? Everyone is going to be back and selling and emailing and marketing. Like, I don't want us to get lost. I don't want us to get lost in that. You know, here's a great example. I don't know if anybody, Scott, you got to be a hockey fan, right? Are you a hockey fan?
I'm actually like the
one Canadian that's not a hockey fan.
Anyway,
I like the NFL.
Anyway, the biggest free agent in hockey just signed with the Maple Leafs last night or the other night, and he did it the same day that LeBron made his announcement in the NBA. And that guy's an idiot because he made the whole world wait 7 days, where he should have found his opportunity and gotten out of the LeBron noise, and everybody would have listened at that moment. And so I think that's another area that you got to be careful with from a marketing perspective. Same reason why, and I use this example all the time. Like, if there was an article that said the best time to send an email is Tuesday at 2:00 p.m., everyone would go do that. I want to go find the opportunity. I want to send that email Saturday night or Sunday morning when nobody else is there.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's kind of, going back to like individual prospect. Best time to send an executive email is going to be a Sunday night because no one else is doing it. So it makes total sense. And then the one thing I wanted to add, because I made a LinkedIn video the other day on. I was traveling for a while, but I was still working, and how I structured my day differently, because there's a lot of more distractions. You got the beach calling your name and everything. And the way I do it, whether I'm here or, traveling, is, get the KPIs that are a perfect day for you. So for me, it's like, I want to do, 4 discovery calls. I want to have, 2 follow-up meetings on the books. I want to do a social post, and like, I know exactly what it looks like when I leave my day and I'm like, wow, that was an awesome day. Like, it couldn't have been better. Right. So instead of structuring and like, hey, I have to sit here for 8 to 10 hours and find stuff to do, it's just like, let's do those tasks. And as long as it takes me to get those tasks done, sometimes it takes 6 hours. Unfortunately, the flip side is sometimes it will take 12. And you have to hold yourself to that discipline. But it can also be a great way to increase productivity and kind of push through these months with more distractions than normal.
And that's back to your question about like, what does a sales rep do? And I was saying, sort of hold yourself accountable and be committed. Yeah. It's like, if you're willing to do the things that other reps aren't willing to do, that's the superpower, right? That's at the end of the day what the superpower is. It's not that you're any better at selling. It's not that, like, you're willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do. That's when you win.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Okay, let's go to the community, because we got some great questions. And just to clarify, everyone, so we've got the little chat feature on here, but there also is a Q&A section. So we're getting some coming in from both. So if you guys can use the Q&A section, that would be awesome. Just makes my job a little easier. But let's go to Carl, because it's in the chat. So Carl wants to know, so this is around sales kickoffs. Do you have some examples of a sales kickoff theme to develop during the summer? Or do you do any team bonding stuff to help with this during the summer?
Yeah, we did some reach to reinvigorate the team. We have like a pod structure. And so what we did was we reshuffled the pods and said, okay, the team that you're associated with, you're no longer associated. We're going to shuffle the deck. And so it kind of like just gets the juices flowing again, like rather than be stagnant. I know the people I'm working with and all that is like, all right, let's do that. And then we're going to run a bunch of contests between the pods and say, okay, now you're part of this new group. And by the way, to create solidarity within that group, now we're going to create contests between the groups and say that kind of brings them together. And that kind of takes your mind off of, oh, it's summertime, things are slow. Like, you just got to, salespeople are funny creatures. Sometimes you've got to continue to like give them the shiny object that's like keeps their attention going. And so just kind of say, yeah, it's summer. Good luck, guys. Yeah, where are you going to the beach this weekend? If those are the conversations you're having, you're doing them a disservice as a sales leader. You got to keep them interested. You got to keep them excited. Launch a product, launch a marketing campaign, shuffle the deck on the team, get a contest going, pay more dollars for dollars coming in this month. It's all that kind of stuff that gets them like excited and interested coming to work every day, rather than like what you said, like, I can either come in and like wonder what I'm going to do today, or I'm going to hold myself accountable to getting the things done that I need to get done, no matter how long it takes. Like, trying to drive some excitement around that is what you're really up to if you're a sales leader out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a great way to do it. And, you know, anytime you do that shifting, especially when you're a sales, you learn so much from like osmosis, right? And the people around you. So just by making that one switch, you could hear someone's objection handling and be like, okay, I want that. That's what I'm stealing in my tool belt now. That's awesome. Okay. And then Q&A. So we have, it's kind of building off of that a little bit, actually. Jen wants to know, and this is for Armin again. So you mentioned restructuring comp during the summer months. Did you actually do that at Drift?
No, we did that at I was at a prior company called Log Me In. And in the summer times, we had, for a period of time, we actually, again, did the sort of, hey, we're going to plan for summer being a little bit slow. And in fact, we even had, and this was across the entire company, let people out at 3:00 between like Memorial Day and Labor Day on Fridays. And so like now you know that like sales reps are coming in probably and already thinking about what they're doing at 3:00 and hustling out the door, right? So you're already killing a whole day every single week for the entire summer. And then what they had to do to counteract that over time was then to pay more dollars on the summer months to kind of regain the attention and productivity back. So it's been something in the past, but not something I've currently done here. Got it.
Makes sense. And okay, let's go and keep these questions coming, everyone. Thank you so much. So we have Eric. Thanks for your question, Eric. I'm going to put this one to DG. Do you see that there's more upselling opportunities in the summer? So I guess this would be through, existing clients.
I have no idea because we don't do much of that. So that's I'm a good faker and I can make a lot of stuff up, but I don't know.
I love it.
I would say like, honestly, we just rolled out an account management function at Drift, and Armin can talk more of this, but I mean, we that is a conversation that we've had, which is like, if it is slow, I think I saw a message from one of the sales leaders to the group this week, which is like, hey, if you're trying to reach out, if you have new leads that came in and you can't get in touch with any of the company, you have two options. You can keep burning through your leads and going through them, or you could go back and start, relight those existing relationships you have with customers. I mean, those are the people that are already happy and already paying. So I do think that is a good idea. I just don't have any experience with it here personally.
Armin, I think you're on mute there.
Sorry, trying to do good webinar hygiene here. It's something that came up in the conference that we talked about is another secret weapon is like, hey, don't forget about your customer base, right? So some companies have a specific function for account management, and some allow the reps to keep the accounts that they're selling into. And so it's, hey, your existing customers, they'll take your calls. They'll be excited to talk to you about maybe up and coming exciting products that you guys are launching. So it's an opportunity to have a captive audience that you can talk to potentially develop more opportunities for sure that are not just reliant on net new deals.
Yeah. Makes sense. Totally. All right. So DG, this will be for you. This looks like more marketing focused. So you mentioned you had the book. What else are you cooking up over there that kind of goes this
who asked this question?
Above and beyond.
It's just a competitor? How do I know who asked this question? Oh man, that's a good. What else do we have cooking? The honest answer is we're thinking of what can we create, and so I love I'm obsessed with webinars. I think we're going to test a bunch of different types of webinars. I mentioned this to you before we got on the call, shorter form webinars. Yep. We're doing a lot with video, and so I think video is a channel that we're investing heavily in, and just we're going to document more. Our best videos are documenting what we're doing as opposed to trying to like show people something. And so instead of creating something, we I love what Gary Vee says. He takes credit for all the stuff we do at Drift, which drives me nuts. But he calls it
calling him out. I'm sure that would go viral.
He says the best. No, what drives me crazy is like I actually hadn't heard that before, and that's what we do. And then everybody's like, "Oh, you guys just copy," and I'm like, "No, I've never heard it. I didn't hear it." So anyway, he said, "Document, don't create," which I love that, and I want to. And we try to do that for all of our marketing. And so, webinars, videos, events. Like events have been amazing for us. We're gonna do more events, and then honestly, as long as we keep filling the pipeline for the sales team, we got a big ramp up to Hypergrowth, which is our big conference coming up in September. So if you're listening, we would love to have you there. You can check it out at hypergrowth.drift.com. But if you ever want to know what it's like to plan and promote a 6,000 person event, we could do a whole webinar on that. Maybe in the fall.
Yeah. Is it a little stressful over there, or?
Yeah. If I had any hair left, they would be slowly evaporating. Yeah, it's the craziest to me. And I want to like write something about this, but it's the craziest form of marketing because, if you send an email and nobody replies, like it doesn't hurt you emotionally. If you do a webinar, and nobody shows up, like it sucks, but you have the replay. If you do an event and you have to still look out at empty seats like that like makes me want to throw up. So it is but at the same time, like when everybody does show up, it's the best feeling in the world. And so that's what is super exciting to me.
Totally. Yeah. We know all about that at Sales Hacker for sure.
That's right. And that's, and if you notice, there have been fewer Sales Hacker events. I think you guys are all in on this webinar.
I want to keep this, man.
Keep it. It looks good on you.
Thank you. And to that point, just something to add with that kind of the Gary Vee document thing. Someone, can't remember who said this, but we've kind of gone from this, tell me economy, like tell me what you do versus just show me. So we come to this like show me economy, which I thought was a really good way of putting it. Okay, so we got another question from Carl Dupold. Carl, thank you so much for the question. Armin, I'm going to shoot this one over to you. So any ideas for keeping your customer base engaged over the summer?
The existing customer base, I think that you've got to work with both product and marketing. Most people do some kind of product launches, in the fall to bolster up their Q4 numbers. And so maybe you could do sneak peeks for your existing customers or high value customers that potentially are buyers or are people that could help you get the word out on the product launch as it comes around. So I would definitely try to at least reach out to the high value customers, but potentially even ones that can get the word out to give them some kind of like, hey, you're the inner circle kind of group of customers, and we want to give you some special love over this period of time, and pull them closer in, right? Do a customer advocate group meetup and have a dinner with them and get feedback, or do a soft launch on a product, do a promotion on, hey, if you buy X more of whatever you're selling during the summer months, we'll give you a little bit of break on your contract, like stuff like that, to be able to continue and engage and show appreciation for their business, right?
Yeah. Makes total sense. Great points. And I think we have one more question we'll take from the community, and then we'll slowly wrap this up. Again, this is Sales Hacker, so sales focused question. Armin, I'm going to put this one to you again. What are your thoughts on utilizing a solution sales mindset versus a challenger sales mindset?
Oh, go deep, Armin. Go deep. Let's go. We got an hour. Go ahead, bring it.
Oh, Jesus. This is like a religion. This is like a religion question.
This is getting political.
Go.
Exactly. I don't know.
It's getting heated.
It always matters to me. I don't have religion on sales process and sales approach. I kind of look at both your audience, the customer, the market, where you are against the competition, and sort of what your sales cycle is to determine like what's the most applicable approach. And so I think both are valid approaches. It just kind of depends. I know it sounds like a cop-out, but it's like I'm a mechanic, right? I'm not going to pull out a wrench when I need a hammer, and I'm not going to put out a hammer when I need a wrench. I'm not going to say the only tool set that I'm ever going to use in a sales process is this one tool set, right? Mm. I'm not going to limit myself to that dynamic. The world changes way faster than that. And if you're dogmatic about this is the only approach that I can use, then I think you're limiting yourself to what you think what you might be capable of or what might be useful over time. Now, the hard part with that, of course, is like, hey, I've got 30 salespeople and I've got to tell them we can only go in this direction. I think that comes into like you've got to pick a lane, and then you can sprinkle in other things in both pipeline reviews and call reviews that say, hey, I know we have this approach, but by the way, there's a little thing over here that you could do in this situation that is applicable, right? Rather than confuse the sales rep, because if you give them too much, then it's confusing for them, and I can understand that as well.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question, or did I cop it out to you?
No, That's an awesome answer. And I think it's really the only answer you can give. I think it's always like a little ridiculous. Like, DG, could you imagine if someone asked you, like, okay, you can only adopt one marketing.
It's only email,
tactic.
just
Yeah,
email.
you can
That's
only
it.
pick one. You'd be like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's like assuming that it's just like assuming that there's one like linear funnel, right? Like I think as a buyer of marketing and sales software, like I can't stand when I get on the phone and I know somebody's taking me through, some methodology as opposed to talking to me as a person, right? And so I think you're totally right.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So to wrap this up, I'll try and kind of break down some of the things. So number one, when you're going through these summer months, number one's got to be planned for it, right? That's huge. Know that it's happening. Get the elephant, out of the room, plan for it. Two, when it comes to mindset, don't assume that your buyers aren't there. You have to just, kind of adopt business as usual mentality. And actually, Armin, you said, maybe 10 to 15% extra on your goals and your metrics. And then try and twist it into an opportunity. So, get creative. They may actually have some more time to talk to you. And then, adapt, and, you got to be available 24/7. You got to live where they live. And then that's going to allow you to ride out these summer months, hopefully crush your quota, and remember that it's all free money, baby. All free money.
That's the headline.
That's
it.
That's the headline of my new webinar series, 10-minute webinar series called Free Money.
I love it. That should be Drift's motto. You want just free money. Free money.
I mean, Drift kind of is free money, but that is a whole other topic. We don't need to get into here, but
it's very true. All right. Well, Dave,
all right,
Armin,
Scott,
always
thank
a
you
pleasure.
for having us.
Yeah.
By the way,
go
go get the book. It's completely free. Go to drift.com and search for book. All right.
Look at DG, still marketing. He never stops.
Always
go, baby, go.
What do you want from me? I got you.
Love it.
All right. See you guys.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks everyone for